Hello, everybody, and welcome to Solar Reel's Greener Film School production. This is just a little presentation to talk about some of the things that we're looking to do with both the film school and the shoots that will be happening for 3 days to try and make them a little bit more sustainable. So, for the first week, we've got the film school training at Impact Arts. An important part of that is just about building awareness and sustainable habits. The primary goal is to instill sustainable practices among participants, crew, making an impact on their future practice. Developing awareness early in your career can obviously be really helpful, and it's something that we're really keen to kind of like invest early, specifically since we'll be dealing with students. So that really starts with transport to the venue, making sure that it's eco-friendly. So please try and walk or cycle or use public transport to minimize carbon emissions. If you must use a car, please consider car sharing to optimize travel resources and reduce the environmental footprint. And obviously, anybody traveling in electrical cars, if needed, it would be preferable. Moving on to talk a little bit about materials and equipment. To reduce waste, won't be using very much printed materials, and they'll be avoided where possible. This is obviously more specifically within the school in terms of reducing the impact there. And then when we're talking about catering and breaks, participants should bring reusable water bottles and coffee cups to reduce single-use plastic waste. And that obviously goes for the crew as well. And we're also thinking about where we're getting our food from in terms of it being locally sourced and encouraging meat-free lunches as well. Okay, let me just scroll down for a second. The other thing is just generally about mindset and preparation, and that I will be your green steward during both the film school and also the filming days, and I'll be there to try and kind of reinforce some of these points and point people in the right direction when it comes to recycling points and things like that. So this moves us on to our film shoot. So we've got a 3-day film shoot. So we're looking at how we minimize resources, energy, and waste. The objective is to cut down on resources and energy use and really think about what we're using and how we're using it. So, for example, this includes using LED lights and monitoring battery charging. Again, we're looking at travel to location, and as previously said, it's really important to think about how we get to places in terms of reducing our carbon footprint. And again, that's about public transport and cycling and how we use cars in terms of car sharing and stuff like that. So that is really important. And then, as we touched on before, about thinking about obviously we draw a lot of power through a production via charging batteries and lights and things like that. So we really need to think about being resourceful in the amount of equipment we use and also the type of equipment we use. So we've obviously pinpointed the LEDs as being a lower emission than, say, bigger HDMIs on set. I'm really thinking about things like switching off charging points when we know the battery's charged and just being really on that from the get-go. We're also looking to our costume sets and props. Very simply, the idea of just buying things and throwing them away is no longer sustainable or really useful for anyone. So we will certainly be looking to reuse, borrow materials whenever possible, and looking at how we can reuse things in different ways if we do indeed need to purchase things. And then, as we touched on before, our catering in terms of reducing waste. So we won't be looking to bring on bottled water. We will be asking everyone to bring their own containers for water because obviously staying hydrated is really important as well. So again, going back to this idea about what we eat and how we consume things and making really smart decisions and choices around that is really, really important as well. And also talking a little bit about composting food scraps can also help with the environmental impact when it comes to catering. Next up is waste management, sorting and responsible disposal. So when we're using things, it's about how we're disposing of them. So throughout the school, we will have a system for clearly separating recycling and general waste. Label bags or boxes ensure proper disposal, reinforcing commitments to sustainable production methods. you'll be directed to relevant recycling points on set. Okay, this brings us to our post-production. Obviously, a lot of you will have left us by this point, but it is part of the overall process. So we're looking at a lower carbon impact in editing. So the primary goal is to reduce the overall carbon emissions during post-production by adopting eco-friendly strategies. So, for example, we will use energy-efficient computers and settings, such as sleep mode, that can significantly cut energy consumption. We'll ask students to close unused software during critical editing tasks that enhances performance and reduce CPU load. And I know some of this stuff might feel very marginal, but I think it collectively can make a difference. And then we're looking at our team practices. So we use shared drives and cloud storage that reduce the reliance on physical media like USBs or DVDs. This practice streamlines collaboration and minimizes resources consumption throughout the editing phase. Okay, and lastly, and this is just a little bit more general in terms of things we as an organization at Solar Bear are thinking about, and we'd like to share with you a little bit about that. So obviously part of carbon offsetting is going to be a big thing in the future. For example, we've got tree planting initiatives here, but there's lots of different other initiatives where we can look at how are we offsetting some of the damage that we're doing to this planet. And then behind the scenes, so we will be documenting our practices, not just celebrating what we're doing in the school, but also having a look at how do we celebrate some of the decisions we make in terms of being sustainable and the choices we make, and how can we be leading on that conversation and that dialogue. And then we're looking at the Green Production Agreement. So as you'll see in your form, we've asked you to fill out a little pledge and potentially earmark one or two things that you can do to help us throughout this production. And then obviously this kind of feeds into our distribution planning as well, and how we're going to do that sustainably, and also how do we use those points of connection with audiences to have that conversation about sustainability and spread some of these ideas around as well, and bring that awareness to everyone. So that's it. So these are some of the ideas that we're playing with. We're really excited to be working with you all. Again, if you have the opportunity, please see the link to the Green Pledge, which asks you to identify one or two really, really simple things that you can commit to throughout the production to help with creating a greener film school production at Solar Bear. And yeah, good luck to everybody.